You have $1 million in your 401k and you want to know when you can retire. Specifically, you want to know how much can you spend? Are you in a good position? How can you make sure if you just get unlucky and you retire and markets go down, that you're not going to go, why didn't I work 6 more months or just 1 more year? Because there's a risk that you don't have enough money and you run out, but there's another risk where you go, well, how much is enough? And then you keep going, yeah, I'm going to work 1 more bonus, just 1 more year, 2 more years. Then all of a sudden, here you are at 64 going, hey, why didn't I stop working if I was in a fine spot to do so? So I'm going to show you a real case study of current clients, how we're talking through retirement, specifically if you have about $1 million in your 401k and you're wondering when you can stop working. Now, real quick, some of my clients truly are like, I don't want to work ever again. And other clients are like, hey, I actually like what I do, but I just want to know, am I working right now because I want to or because I have to? And it's not going to mean I quit my job, but it's going to feel a lot better when I go to work, knowing if I want to take a Friday off, I can. So I want to show you the earliest time you are in a position to retire early. But I do joke, but I half joke, because I am the meanest early retirement advisor. I don't want you to retire too early and run the risk of having to go back to work. My name is Taublieb. I'm a certified financial planner. I'm the host of the Early Retirement Podcast, and I'm the vice president here at Root. If you want to optimize your early retirement and you want strategies around investing, taxes, withdrawal, healthcare, you're in the right spot, and I invite you to subscribe. So let's hop in and meet this couple. Adam and Ann, fake names, just changed it for security purposes, but real clients, 60 and 58. Now, right now, they don't hate their job, and they're like, hey, we just want to know when are we in a comfortable position to retire and spend what we want. We're open to working longer if it meant we could spend more, but we just don't want to be working unnecessarily. So I said, okay. So in terms of what they're working with right now, they've got a little north of $1 million just in a 401k, traditional 401k, and they have the ability to use these funds as they see fit. They're over 59 and a half. This is in Adam's name. They are good to go if they want to start withdrawing. They also have a brokerage account, and their brokerage account has $175,000. And this is a really, really good strategy. If you guys right now are going, hey, we've got our 401k, but should we start looking elsewhere? Maybe you're earlier than 60 watching this going, hey, I'm in my 30s, 40s, 50s. What should I do to prepare? Well, the best thing you can do is start adding funds outside of your 401k so that, let's assume Adam hypothetically said, hey, I don't want to work until 60. I might want to stop at 56. Well, if you want to stop at 56 or 54 or 52, you might want to consider having a brokerage account, which is going to help bridge the gap until 59 and a half. Now, there's something called the rule of 55, where if you essentially turn 55 or later in the year that you retire, you have the ability to tap into these funds within your 401k. So it's not black and white, never is, but this brokerage account is really a beneficial tool. I like when clients start to save outside of the 401k. I'm going to tell you why before I give you the full example here. The reason I like it is what I don't want to have happen is you get unlucky, and this is what I see too often is people go, yeah, I think I'm in a good spot to retire, but I just hope I don't get unlucky. Because what could happen is you retire early, let's call it 60. By the way, early is before 65 in my definition. So you retire early, you've got healthcare expenses, you've got travel, you might be doing a remodel, and these are the years you have your energy and health, so I want you to spend. And then all of a sudden markets go down. So now your portfolio, once again, we don't have Social Security helping out yet. We have our portfolio and it's taken on a lot. If markets are down and you have healthcare and travel and you're spending, well, now it could put so much weight on your portfolio that you're withdrawing too much. And it's going to essentially mean you can't spend what you want to spend for the rest of your retirement. So the more that we can save outside of a 401k or before we are retiring, normally 1 to 3 years out, we can start to tackle those big potential expenses. So you don't have to buy a new car and have healthcare expenses and take it a big trip and do a remodel. Can we start to tackle those big expenses before we retire so that when you do retire, even if markets go down, it's not putting extra weight on your portfolio? So let's continue on here. This couple did an awesome job. They paid off their mortgage. $1.1 million in their home. We'll estimate for property taxes, insurance, things like that, but they just like having the value in their software here. So $1.1 million, that's the value of their home, but they have no intention of selling it. And I said, hey, if you guys downsized and did this and that, you could, and they're like, yeah, we know we could spend more, but this is a home we want to be in for the rest of our lives. So I said, great, let's throw that off the table, because some people are like, no, I would want to know if I sold this and I had $400,000 of equity and I could retire earlier, that would be attractive. So that's a planning tool that we can talk about as well. So let's talk about their goals. Specifically, they want to stop working. They want to know, really, are we in a position to stop working? So 60 and 58, and Adam's currently bringing in the income for the family. Ann's been at home with the children. Now they have 2 children. In terms of retirement expenses, they want to spend $6,600 every month. That's what they need so they can do what they want to do. And then in terms of healthcare, we ran some estimates based on what they're looking for. It's about $7,800 in terms of pre-Medicare costs. And then when Medicare is coming on, they're going to be spending more than that. Some people think, oh, once I've got Medicare, I'm not going to have any expenses. They're like, hey, we still go to physical therapy outside of a certain provider, and we naturally get massages. And so they wanted to add this in for them. So they're saying it's $7,800 before they actually get to Medicare, and then $4,200 once Medicare is beginning. So these are just estimates. It's not perfect, but we want to have something in there. Now, we personally have a healthcare team that you're working with. So if you're really nervous about how much is healthcare going to cost, how do I think through this? This team right here, this is Move Health. This is a document. We actually partner with them. So I tell my clients, go speak with Move Health. They're going to make sure you get the insurance you need. I don't get any commissions or kickbacks. I don't care who you use. And they're going to come back to me and they're going to tell me how to massage your income to either take advantage of a subsidy or Roth conversions so that you don't pay any more than you need to. So that's an example of that. And they want to buy new cars every 10 years. And they're like, hey, we just want to buy new cars. So we're estimating $25,000 and we want to spend on travel, but we don't know. And we don't know exactly how much we want to spend. So I told them, great, let's hold off on that. Now, a lot of you are like, hey, but we want to travel. How much can we spend? I kind of feel like I'm in the similar spot. So I'm going to show you, I promise right now, what that looks like. My only favor is I know I don't get to work with all of you. Drop a comment if this is helpful, if this type of content resonates, and when you're planning to retire. It's fun for me to get to read those comments. I personally get to look, and you might go, hey, I can't wait to travel. I'm going to go to these locations, or, I'm going to spend time playing pickleball, or none of that. I'm on the couch with my kids. It's fun for me to get to hear that. So thank you for dropping a comment. So once again, I'm going to show this to you right now. I am the meanest early retirement planner. I don't want you to retire too early. So I'm going to tell this couple, they're not in a spot to retire. Now they know that. Some of you are like, I have $1 million and I want to spend a similar amount, and they don't even have a mortgage and I have a mortgage. So like, how could I possibly retire if they can't retire? 1, you might want to spend less than them. 2, you don't know exactly what healthcare is going to cost for you. 3, you might go, wait a second, I don't have children, or I don't have specific legacy goals to leave $2 million to each child. All of that changes when you retire. Don't be cookie cutter with your approach. So that is my job, is to give you that tough love, which might be you're in a good spot. So here's the graph that, just so all of you know, this is what 99% of people retire on. I would never let anyone retire on this. So this is saying here's what they have today, about 1.2 million between brokerage. They've got a little extra in emergency fund that they just left off their portal, but about 1.2 million. And what you can see is if they stop working, they're in an okay spot, but what happens is they start to spend it down, and then it starts to come back up because Social Security is now helping out. So it's how do we make sure we're getting through this gap? And so right off the bat, you might go, hey, that looks pretty good. Like here's what we're working with, 1.2 million, assuming a moderate growth rate, about 6%, which is realistic. Okay, well, we're ending up with about $1 million at 97. Well, some of you are like, that's great. Like, what's the problem? The problem is $1 million is not going to be worth $1 million today. So what that means, $1 million in the future will not be worth $1 million today. It's the equivalent of about $330,000. So this is the real graph. Most people don't turn this on. I like to turn this on because we want to go, hey, what's that really going to be worth? So the first thing I'll do is I'll say, hey, this looks great. You guys have options. And this is how I'll explain it to a client. I'll go, what's more important to you? Would you rather work longer so you can spend more, or would you rather stop working so you can spend what you told me you want to spend right now? And some of you are like, no, this is $6,600 a month. I wouldn't even need that amount. $4,000 a month, I'm good to go. Well, I might tell this client, you're in a wonderful spot. So I'll always start by saying, hey, what's in our control and what's out of our control? Well, the first thing is we could keep working. That's pretty simple. We could keep working. Let's assume you work 2 more years. And people go, what? Well, that makes a big difference. Now we're on track for 2.8 million, which, by the way, once again, 2.8 in the future won't be worth 2.8, but 2.8 million's the equivalent of about $1 million. So yeah, that certainly helps. But they were like, hey, we really would like to know, do we need to keep working? Or are we just working because, financially we have to? Like, that's what they want to know. So we start with that, and then I'll turn that back off. I go, yeah, I know you really don't want to keep working. So what other options are there? Well, the next option is to essentially say, you want to spend $6,600 a month. What if instead you spent less? So you spend $5,000 a month. You're still buying cars. You're still doing that. Whoa. Well, that makes a big difference, because now some of you go, what's the big deal here? $5,000 a month versus $6,600 a month. That's $1,600 a month every single month for the rest of their lives. that they're spending way, way less. And so people go, well, that makes a massive difference. It does. So it's really common to look at the sexy side of tax planning and withdrawal and estate and healthcare. And I love doing that. But sometimes it really comes down to those expenses. I would tell this client, because I know them, hey, you're probably going to want to spend like $7,500 a month. $6,600 was good, but I know them. And I'm like, hey, you're probably in the range of $7,500. And they go, but then it's going to show I'm running out of money. I go, yeah, that's because you're not in a position to retire today. And they know that and they're okay with that. So my point is, I told them, hey, when are we in a good spot? Well, if you guys work until 63, and by you guys, Adam's working, and you want to spend $7,500 a month, that's where we're starting to have that conversation. So you're working about 3 more years based on what you want to spend. And they're like, okay, good to know. But then we take it to the next level. So I've kind of shown you now, okay, what's in your control, what's out of your control. I'm not the nicest guy, but this is where I'll start. And then I'll say, guys, well, what if you retire right now and you spend what you shared with me you want to spend, but what if you just get unlucky? Like, what if markets don't perform well? Well, let's assume we get conservative growth. We just get unlucky. Well, now what happens is we're running out of money at 90. And so what you don't want to do is simply retire and go, I hope I get the good 10 years. And if I don't, I'm in a bad spot. And if I get lucky, I'm going to have even more, because that could be the case too. Most people don't like to look at that, but what if you're in we have a 80% equity portfolio or 90%. You could look at any of these. Let's assume we refresh that. Well, now you're going to see it go in the opposite direction because markets did well and you invested really well. So these little buttons can make someone retire or not retire. And if you're not navigating them efficiently, it can be scary. So my point is, a lot of important planning points here. Social Security, withdrawal rates, a big one that I'm going to talk about now, which I think people overlook. The truth is, you're not going to spend $6,600 every single month in retirement. You're not. There's going to be a time where you're going to spend way more. You have your energy, you have your health, likely in your early 60s, even through your late 60s, maybe early 70s. Then you're naturally going to spend less. You don't have the same energy. You don't have the same health. Maybe you're doing more giving to family and it's travels, maybe minimized, but you're just not spending as much. So people are like, hey, is there a way to model that out? And there is. It's called the retirement spending smile. And so you can see it right here. And this is saying, what if you retire, you tend to spend more because you have your energy and your health, then it comes down, then it shoots up again. And so this is something I'll put on for clients. It's not perfect. It's an average. So some people go, oh my God, if I just look at the average on that, that's not what I'm telling you. What I'm saying is it's worth considering. It's worth you thinking through. And some of you might go, no, I'm going to want to travel the rest of my life. Maybe I'll travel a little less, but I'll replace money I otherwise would have traveled with giving. Or I'm going to I know me, and we're going to want to go out to eat more even though we're home. Whatever it is. So this is not the kind of me saying, yep, go do this and retire. But this is important to know. So they're buying new cars. The one thing this isn't incorporating is travel. So I want to go in here and add another goal. Let's call it vacations. And we can go here and model out how much we'd like and what that looks like. So let's just say vacations. Let's just say $15,000 a year, an extra $15,000 a year. This is in addition to the $6,600 every month, in addition to the fact that they've got healthcare, in addition to the new cars. Let's assume they do it every year. Let's start it right now. And let's say they do it for 10 years. The first 10 years, they want to enjoy their travel. So we're going to put that on and let's see what it does to the plan. Okay, so we model that out. All of a sudden, wow, yeah, there's certainly less because we're adding $15,000 as an expense for the first 10 years. So here they are passing away at 90 if they never worked again. But this couple, I said, hey, based on what you're sharing with me and what you're comfortable with, they were comfortable with about a moderate portfolio in terms of an allocation. And they were open to working longer so that they could spend to the degree that they would like. So we had that conversation, and when we spoke, they're now in a good spot. If they're going to work 1 to 2 more years, and by the way, guys, now they're saving more to their Roth IRAs. Now they're adding more to their 401k. Some people go, hey, what's the big deal? I work 1 more year. I go, the big deal here is that it's not 1 more year of work that I care about. It's 1 more year you let the portfolio compound and grow, and that's the real value. So the point here that I think a lot of people don't consider is, well, what other kind of options are there? Well, another option is part-time income. This is something a lot of people overlook, but I like to add it in. And none of this is including inheritance and other things like that. But what if they just brought in $40,000 a year doing something they really enjoyed? And let's assume they start it right now and they just do it for 5 years. Some people go, well, what's the big deal? 40,000, I made 100, 200, 300, 500,000 in my career between my spouse and I. What good is 40,000? I go, you're thinking about it wrong. It's not 40,000 I care about. It's 40,000 less coming from the portfolio that lets that compound, and that's what I care about. So watch what happens if I turn on 40,000 of part-time income. All of a sudden, it's a big jump. It's $1 million jump, and it's because it's allowing your portfolio to continue compounding in the years that we need it to, because Social Security hasn't been turned on yet. So a lot that we talked about today. This is on that kind of general, hey, there's a lot I want to go over on tax and withdrawal and estate and healthcare in more detail, and I have other videos on that. But this is simply, hey, I've got $1 million or so, I'm 60, am I in a good spot? Can I retire? What do I need to think about, etc. So hopefully this was helpful. If so, please like this video. And my only ask is you share it with someone that you want to retire early with. It's more fun to retire early with friends. And lastly, if you are looking for a holistic approach, this is what we do. We love helping clients make sure they're retiring with total confidence and they're not having another job in retirement being an advisor. So hopefully this was helpful, and I'll see you guys next video.